Good morning, church. Today we're going to continue our look in Matthew chapter 10. We're nearing the end of this chapter. One thing to consider as we read the words of Christ here is the names of Christ. He has many names, titles that we give to him, one of those being the Prince of Peace. And that's a very interesting title in light of what we read here, because how we as the church think of peace and how peace is understood in the world is two very different things. So let's read the words of Christ and then we'll talk about it. Starting in verse 34 of Matthew chapter 10, reads, "Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a person's enemies will be those of his own household. Whoever loves his father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever loves his son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take up his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." Now this is very interesting because it talks to peace, and the type of peace that Jesus did come to bring. And because here he's saying, I did not come to bring peace, but division, basically. He came to bring a sword that divides. Now in some places, and probably in some of your experiences, as you have joined the Christian faith, you have been disowned by those you cared about, those who you loved and cared for the relationship more than anyone else. And this is a common theme throughout the world. And some people will actually face violence or even face death or persecution or severe abandonment as they join the Christian faith. A little note on that, when I lived in Thailand, or one of my times visiting Thailand, there was a girl who really wanted to follow Christ, but she was concerned because she knew if she did that her family would disown her. And so one of the comforting things was to be able to say, you might lose that family, but you'll also gain a large family that cares for you and loves for you and ultimately wants what's best for you holistically. And that was a comforting thought. And so we need to be that new family for those who their family abandons them as they join the faith. But here he's saying, he names some chief relationships, son to father, mother to daughter, and then the other way around as you look at your own children. And so that these relationships would be divided, but also that we must have a sense of loyalty to God that goes above our loyalty to earthly relationships. There's a saying, closer than a brother. And why that's such a strong saying of a bond between two people is because the brotherly bond is so strong. Or that you would give your life for your children. Who wouldn't? We sacrifice so much for them because we love and care for them. Yet Jesus is saying that you must love him and must follow him in his ways more than you do in those relationships. He says that he comes to bring a sword. This is not a sense of violence, but a sense of division. That we would be cut off from those previous relationships that do not hold to the faith, if that's the case. And then we'd be united with God instead of united with those. So he says that we must be loyal to him. And so in your life, you're loyal to a lot of things. I myself, I'm a son, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm a citizen of Canada. All these relationships demand a sense of loyalty. And to some degree, they'll get that loyalty, but not to the degree that I give loyalty to God. He is my king, and my chief loyalty, my utmost loyalty, stands with him and will continue to. He continues, and he says that we must take up our cross and follow me. And if we're not willing to do that, then we're not worthy of him. This was a very clear message to the people of the ancient world at that time, that taking up your cross was sacrificial, was putting everything on the line. And that's what he asks of us, that we would be willing to put everything on the line. And then he says, those who finds his life will lose it. And those who ever loses his life for his sake will find life. And there's this idea of martyrdom. And this was a very important thing that he says this to these people, because almost all of them experienced martyrdom in their life, that they died for their faith. And it's this idea that even when we are faced with death, the answer is, I will stand for God and his ways, and I will be loyal to that, because we as Christians understand that death is just a hiccup in the span of eternity in God's glory. That is Matthew chapter 10, verses 34 to 39. I hope you find that helpful, and have a good day. See ya.